Hello, dear students. So we are continuing with commerce, where we are going to have a finale, a grand finale. So in this finale, we're going to revisit the topics and expand on one or two concepts. Okay. And of course, maybe we may discuss some other concepts that have not been discussed in other videos, but they also come during exams. Okay, let's get started. So the final part is going to be made of four different parts. The first part, which is this video, is going to have career prospects. Okay, then we're going to visit production industry and we'll look at contracts, something that we did not spend time on. Okay, then part two is going to look at invoice. We did invoice, but I just want to show you some calculations. Then we're going to discuss buying and selling on credit, then cash and trade discount, how to do the calculations and all. Then part three is going to focus on barriers to trade. We're also going to take a look at ZRA and other authorities. Then we are also going to just talk a bit of types of securities that are at Lusaka Stock Exchange. Then we're going to finish the finale with non-banking financial institutions and also some documents that are used in the bank. So let's get started. So after studying commerce, what can you pursue as a career? Okay, so you can pursue entrepreneurship. Like me, I'm a businessman. So I use the knowledge from commerce to do business. Okay. Of course, this is grade 12 knowledge, but it's so important that you can run a very successful business. Okay. And without it, you may end up making mistakes. If you don't know how to advertise, you may end up making mistakes in your business. If you don't know how to make use of other aids to trade, you may end up making mistakes in your business. Okay, so commerce can enable you to start and manage your own business. Okay, it can also provide knowledge in finance, operations, and market analysis, which are very key in any business. Okay, it also encourages innovation, leadership, and risk management. For example, you want to see how you can advertise your good, you can use a point of sale, okay, to make sure that you arrange your display very well, so that can help or can spark innovation, also and other aspects of the business. So commerce encourages innovation, that is creating new ways of doing things, leadership, and risk management. Okay, you know how to use insurance, so you can use risk management to deal with insurance. Okay, also you can pursue a career in marketing. Okay, so such careers in marketing include, you can become a digital marketer, you can learn how to do brand management, and also you can learn how to do market research. Okay, so basically marketing involves understanding consumer behavior and strategies to promote products or services. Okay, basically we're talking about advertisement. Okay, so marketing is as a high demand in Zambia and also in international business, especially with the rising of social media. So marketing is very cardinal. Okay, you can also pursue a career in accounting and finance. Okay, so there are opportunities in auditing, taxation, how to do taxes, investment banking, and financial consulting. Okay, uh, this is essential for managing financial records and advising companies on financial decisions. Okay, of course, you may need also to get some skills in accounting or principles of accounts, because that one is focused on record management. Okay, also if you get qualifications like ACCA or CPA, um, uh, ZCAS, it can boost such prospects. Okay, so this is both just advising you what you can do with commerce, but of course it is examinable as well. You can also pursue a career in human resource management. So roles here include recruitment. Recruitment is getting or hiring new workers, training, okay, how to train workers, payroll, how to deal with payment of salaries, and performance management, making sure that the workers are performing the duties, okay, as assigned to them. So basically, this career or careers in human resource management, they focus on managing people and organizational culture. That is, if the company says want to be wearing black suits, you make sure that everyone wears the black suits. Okay, so it's all about managing people and organizational culture. So human resource is very important in every sector, corporate, government, NGOs, all these sectors, whether it's a corporate institution, government institutions, or an NGO, human resource has to be there. Where there are people, human resource has to be there. Also, the careers in business management and administration, okay? Business management and administration, which prepares people for managerial roles in various industries to be managers. So, careers in this involves planning, organizing, and overseeing business operations. So our opportunities are there if you go in this direction in what is called project management, also operations and strategic planning. Okay, so these are different courses you can pursue or programs you can pursue: project management, operations management, strategic planning. So these are different um, programs you can pursue if you want to go to continue with commerce, or if you want to make a career using commerce. Okay, I know operations management is there at Copperbelt University. Strategic planning at the University of Zambia, I'm not sure. Strategic planning is, I think, is there on both. Project management is also there on both at master's level. So these are different opportunities you can pursue when you want to make a career from commerce. Okay, away from career prospects, now we look at production. We discussed what production is. We discussed methods of production, direct, indirect, etc. Okay, so what is it, or why is it that we're talking about production now? We want to understand types of production, okay? So production, as we know, refers to the process of creating goods and services to satisfy human wants and needs. Wants and needs, okay? It is divided into three main types. So the first is called primary production. I'm not talking about method of production like direct, indirect. No, I'm talking about types of production. So the first is primary production, okay? So what is primary production? So this involves the extraction or harvesting of natural resources directly from the earth, like mining. Okay, so primary production involves extracting or harvesting of natural resources directly from the earth. So this includes farming. When you are farming, you are getting, for example, maize direct from the field. The field is part of the earth, so you are getting direct from the earth. So that's a primary production. Fishing, primary production. Mining, primary production. And forestry, these are primary production. Okay, so examples, we can say growing maize, groundnuts, and vegetables. For farming. For mining, we can say copper mining in areas like the Copperbelt and Northwestern Province. Okay, and fishing, like fishing in the Kariba and the Luapula Province. Then the next is secondary production. So in secondary production, it involves the transforming raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods. So what you get from primary production, if you want to further refine those things to have finished goods, that is secondary production. Okay, so activities include manufacturing and construction. Okay, examples, if you turn copper into electric cables or maize into meal meal, that is secondary production. Okay, so I know in Zambia we're able to turn maize into meal meal, but copper into electric cables, yes, we're able to do that. That is Zamefa. There is a company called Zamefa that does that, turning copper into electrical cables. So this is secondary production. You get the copper from primary production, you turn it into a cable, secondary production. You get maize from primary production, you turn it into meal, that is secondary production. In construction, building schools, roads, and houses using cement and other materials. Cement and other materials like soil is gotten from primary production. Houses, which are gotten from the cement and the soil, they are the products of secondary production. So those are the products of secondary production. Going to tertiary production, this one involves the provision of services to consumers and businesses. So this one is centered mainly on services, providing them to consumers and businesses. So activities of tertiary production includes transport. You're providing, you are offering Yango services. That is tertiary production. Banking, tertiary production. Education, like Blue Gum, we're offering tertiary production through the provision of online lessons. Okay, healthcare, that is tertiary, and retail, that is tertiary production. Okay, don't forget retail is part of tertiary production. You have a cantemba or a small shop and you are selling things there. That is tertiary production. So we look at examples. Transport, like I said, buses and taxis, transporting people in Lusaka or from town to town. Banking, education, teaching services in school like Chongwe Secondary School, the University of Zambia, and Blue Gum. I was supposed to put my school here. Yeah, but that is tertiary production. I'm sure you get the idea. Okay, away from production, we look at industry. Okay, we've looked at types of productions and I've emphasized that these are different from methods of productions. When the question is asking you about type of production, you don't have to answer the method of production, like direct production and indirect production. Okay, now we shift our attention to industry. Okay, so in industry, we're going to look at classes of industries. So industries are grouped based on the type of production or activity they perform. The main classes include extractive industry. Okay, extractive industry. Remember, primary production, extracting from the earth. So what is extractive industry? So this involves extracting natural resources from the earth, sea, or forest. In short, they are industries that are centered on primary production. Okay. Examples: mining, fishing, forestry. Okay. So those are examples of extractive industry. The second is manufacturing industry. Okay, so the definition of manufacturing industry is a manufacturing industry is an industry that converts raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods. Okay, so a manufacturing industry can produce finished goods or partially finished goods. Okay, so examples includes making meal meal from maize. Of course, maybe this meal meal cannot just be eaten, it has to be cooked. Okay, but it is nearly a finished good. Okay, producing cement from limestone, creating furniture from timber, those who make, for example, chairs, that's manufacturing industry. Next, we look at constructive industry. So constructive industry involves building or assembling structures or infrastructure. Okay, so that's what constructive industry is, which is simply what we say in Zambia, more construction. Okay, meaning constructive industry. So examples include building roads, bridges, and schools, construction of shopping malls or houses. Companies like Arvik or Buildcon in Zambia are part of constructive industry. Next, look at exhaustive industry. Okay, so these ones, they extract resources that cannot be replaced once used. Okay, so the difference between exhaustive industry and extraction is, for exhaustive, once they extract those raw materials are not going to be replaced again. They are gone. Okay, so that's the difference between extractive and exhaustive. So exhaustive exhausts all the resources from the earth. So examples, we have mining of copper and cobalt. So this is both extractive and exhaustive, because once you remove the copper is done. Okay, so minerals or raw materials that cannot be replaced are called non-renewable, meaning that you cannot replace them once you use them. Okay, also drilling for oil. Okay, so there are some industries that drill oil, get oil from the ground. So once they get the oil, they cannot replace the oil. Okay, quarrying is also, once stones are broken, they cannot be replaced. So breaking stones, they cannot be replaced. Okay, next we go to non-exhaustive industry. So this uses renewable resources that can be replenished naturally. Okay, meaning that naturally these raw materials can be replaced. Okay, examples include fishing. Okay, if done sustainably. So what this means is, as you get the fish can only be replaced if you allow the fish to mate and give birth to more fish. So you have to control it. Okay, so it's extractive industry, but the type it's extractive and it's non-exhaustive industry. It's both extractive and non-exhaustive. Okay, meaning that if you control it, you cannot finish the fish. Okay, but once you get the fish, if you don't control it, you can end up finishing the fish. Then in that case, if it's not sustainable, it will become exhaustive, meaning that you can end up finishing the fish. So in Zambia, there's a period where they ban fishing. You cannot fish, to allow the fish to breed, to allow the fish to multiply. Okay. Also, farming is an example of non-exhaustive industry. Forestry, of course, this one can only work if you are able to replant. You are cutting down trees and replanting trees. So it needs both deforestation and reforestation. So to end this discussion, we're going to look at contracts. Okay, this is one of my favorite topics in commerce, just like the way I enjoy advertising. The reason is the doctor who taught me contracts, the way he used to deliver it, it was so nice, so enjoyable. So I hope you are going to like it as well. So as we pursue various commercial activities, as we are trying to make ends meet, as we are trying to satisfy human needs and wants through commerce, it would be required at one point or the other to sign a contract. Okay, for example, you want to be to keep on supplying a customer a specified item. So both of you, if you want, you can sign a contract so that you can always be supplying that customer for a specified period of time, maybe at a discount, so that the customer also benefits. So in short, contracts are everywhere. So what is a contract? A contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties that creates rights and obligations enforceable by law. Okay, so keywords: legally binding agreement. Okay, so what it means is the two or more parties that are going to be involved in that contract are going to be bound by law, meaning that if one tries to break away from that contract, they can be taken to court. Okay, and they have to agree. So legally binding agreement between two or more parties that now creates rights and obligations. Okay, so these rights and obligations are enforceable by law. If one party fails to fulfill them, then they can be taken to court. That's what a contract is. So don't sign contracts anyhow. Make sure that you understand what you are doing. Okay. So what are elements of a valid contract? What are elements of a valid simple contract? So you can sign a contract, but it can end up that that contract is not valid. Okay, if it misses some key elements. So what are some of those key elements? Okay, so for a contract to be valid, it must contain the following essential elements. The first is there should be an offer. The whole point of the contract is to have an offer. So in this offer, one party must make a clear proposal to another. So one party must make a clear, not a confusing one, a clear, straightforward proposal to another one. Okay, so that's what an offer is. Okay, so then there should be an acceptance from the other party. So the other party must agree to the exact terms of the offer. So party A is going to make a clear proposal to party B. Party B is going to agree to the exact terms of the offer. So the first element of a contract is the offer. The second one is the acceptance. The third is consideration. Okay, so consideration is something of value, such as money, goods, or service, that must be exchanged. For example, the example I gave of you trying to enter into a contract with a customer, you are going to benefit by making sure that your goods are going to be bought in that given period, and the customer must have something that they're also going to benefit. In that case is a discount. Maybe you say, instead of selling you my cakes at 100 kwacha, I'll be selling you my cakes at 80 kwacha. Okay, so there should be a consideration, something of value, such as money, goods, or service, that must be exchanged between the parties involved. Okay, so there should be a consideration. Third, there should be intention to create legal relations. Okay, so the two parties that are involved should know that they should intend that the agreement must be enforceable by law. Okay, so both parties must intend for the agreement to be legally binding. That is, if one party says that they don't want to fulfill their part, okay, then they can be taken to court. Okay, so there should be intention to create legal relations. Any contract should have this part, the intention to create legal relations. Okay, also capacity to contract. Okay, so the parties must be legally capable, meaning they should not be minors, meaning that they shouldn't be young ones. Okay, they should be people who are in a legal capacity to make to accept, for example, to accept the offer or to give the offer. So someone who is less than who is under 18 years might not be able to sign contracts. In football, someone who is under 18, the parents may sign for them the contract, not that person, because that person is considered to be a minor. Okay, also someone who's mentally unfit, if you're not mentally well, you cannot be expected to sign a contract. If you sign a contract and you are mentally ill, then that contract is not going to be valid. Okay, the contract is not going to be valid because one of the parties has no capacity to contract. Okay, so there should be capacity to contract. Okay, then there should be also legality of purpose. That is, the contract must involve legal activities only, meaning that whatever the offer is, or the acceptance is, or whatever the consideration is, the thing that's going to be changed, it shouldn't be illegal. If the contract involves killing someone, that is illegal, so you're going to be dealt with. Okay, if the contract involves bullying someone online, by 2025, it's illegal in Zambia. You're going to be dealt with. Okay, so there should be legality of purpose. All the elements must be legally valid. Okay. Then the other essential element is certainty. Okay, meaning that the terms must be clear and definite, not confusing. Okay, if one of the terms is a bit confusing, then that contract is not going to be valid. For example, if you offer your customer that you are going to be giving them 2 kg of sugar every week, it should be like that. Okay, it's clear, everyone understands. But if you say we'll be giving you 2 kg of sugar, but sometimes we'll be thinking about it if we can give you depending on what we want, but we'll see. Okay, it's not clear. You are moving around, you're moving in circles. Okay, so the terms must be clear and definite. Okay, then there should also be a possibility of performance. That is, the contract must be possible to carry out, meaning that whatever has been agreed, it should be something that can work. Okay, meaning, for example, in the example I gave of supplying goods to your customer, you have to know that you are capable of supplying those goods and the customer is capable of paying you. Okay, that is possibility of performance. Okay, you can't enter into a contract with someone who says that they can jump from here to Japan. Okay, they can just jump from here to Japan. It's impossible. It cannot be performed. So there should be possibility of performance. Then another important element is free consent. That is, the parties must agree willingly without force or fraud. Okay, there should be no one who forces the other one to sign, or there should be no one who gongas, okay, who misrepresents, who gives wrong information just to make the other person sign. If it is discovered, then that contract is not valid. Okay. Also, the other element is lawful form, which simply means some contracts must follow a certain format. Okay, so like a contract for buying a house, when you want to buy a house, so as you are signing, there's a format that has to be followed, and there are some people who are supposed to sign that. So that is lawful form. Okay, so we're going to look at two aspects of a contract. The first is invitation to treat versus offer. Okay, so what is invitation to treat? So an invitation to treat is an invitation for others to make an offer. Okay, if you invite someone to make an offer, that's an invitation to treat. It is not a legal offer. Okay, for example, a product display in a shop or an advert in a newspaper or on Facebook saying that Blue Gum tuitions are 100 kwacha in commerce per month. Okay, that's not an offer. That's an invitation to treat, which means I'm inviting you to make an offer, okay, or to look at an offer. Okay, then the offer itself is a definite proposal by one party showing willingness to enter a contract. For example, a customer offering to buy a phone for 2,000. This is an offer. So that's the difference between invitation to treat and an offer. So let's talk at acceptance. So the nature or features of an acceptance is that it must be clear, it must be unconditional, and it must be communicated. That is, if you have been given an offer, then you agree to that offer. You have to make sure that the party who has given you an offer has understood that you have accepted, okay, clearly, okay, and you cannot add another condition that I will accept this offer only if I get paid. No. Okay, it should be unconditional. Okay, and also maybe here I add more light. What I mean is you cannot enter, for example, you are the customer, the supplier has given you a contract to sign that they'll be supplying you some cakes every month, So now you want to accept. You cannot accept on a condition that when you get paid, no, you just have to accept or not accept. Okay. If you know that you don't have money, don't accept. Okay. If you know that you are going to have money at the end of the month, you can give a proposal to the party that has given you the offer that maybe you can do this contract, you can sign this contract at the month end, or maybe some terms should be changed. Some terms should allow you to be paying at the month end. So there should be no condition attached to the acceptance. Acceptance must be yes or no. That's all. I mean, acceptance is yes. Okay. Yeah. And it must be communicated. Don't just assume, he understands that I've accepted. Okay. It's not like the relationship between a man and a woman where you just assume, my partner has accepted this, my partner has accepted this. No. You have to communicate to the person that this is the stance. Okay. I have accepted the offer. Okay. So the acceptance can be verbal, meaning that you can speak, you can tell the person. It can be written. Okay, written is always better, or implied by conduct. Written is better. Verbal ones are difficult because someone can say, no, I don't remember this one saying this. Then it becomes difficult. So examples, saying yes, I agree to buy it for 2,000 kwacha. That is an acceptance. Next, consideration. Okay, so I've looked at the offer, we've looked at the difference between invitation to treat and offer, we've looked at the acceptance, now consideration. So consideration is just the value that is exchanged between the parties. So it can be money, service, goods, or promise. So an example is a person who pays 2,000 as a consideration to receive a phone. Okay, so the person pays 2,000, that's a consideration, and receiving a phone, that's a consideration. The good, the value that is exchanged between the two parties, that is consideration. So this marks the end of our finale part 1. See you in the next part.